Newey and Sauber and Bearman. Oh my! All this and more on the Traffic Report. Hello and welcome to the Traffic Report on Traffic Paradise Radio, your source for the hottest F1 news. I am Immy and joining me today is Uno.
Hello.
Uno, are you ready to hear some news?
Oh, I'm so ready. Exciting times, big stories today.
I feel like there's big stories every week. I don't know when it'll end.
Well, hopefully never, because otherwise we won't have a show to do.
Yes. Our first story today, Ollie Bearman will be replacing Kevin Magnussen for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. This hasn't come out of left field, as the incoming Haas driver seemed like the logical choice as a replacement, but it sure will be exciting to see Ollie back on the grid after the magic that was Saudi Arabia. We can almost certainly expect another magical weekend because Ollie runs really well around Baku. In the F2 season last year, Ollie completed what is known as a clean sweep, finishing first in free practice, qualifying, the sprint, and the feature race. So he will be one to watch this weekend. Okay, some questions for you now, Uno. Do we think Ollie can get a Haas points finish? And if he has a good weekend here, do we think it will highlight how F2 is quite unrepresentative of what drivers can actually achieve?
I think that Ollie points this weekend are very unlikely.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest. I think people are maybe setting their expectations a bit too high. He isn't a Haas after all. Yes, the Haas has been performing pretty well. They're sort of on par with an Aston Martin. They're definitely challenging for that top 6, top 5 team position. But at the moment, Williams is also challenging for that position. In the last race he did, he was driving a Ferrari. It's a very different car to a Haas. I think we just need to temper our expectations. But on the other side, I do think that this will be a very good indication as to what his abilities are when he doesn't have one of the faster cars on the grid. Because we know that the Ferrari, even at the beginning of the year, was capable of winning races. So he definitely was in a very fast car then. And now he's going to be in a more midfield car. And so it will challenge him a lot more. And so we should be able to get a better reflection of his abilities this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see a points finish. It would be really quite a great story, but realistically, it's not going to happen unless there's a lot of drama up at the front. But we never know. It'll be interesting to see how Ollie stacks up next to Franco, seeing as they're both relatively rookie drivers who have only had one proper race in an F1 car, and the Haas and the Williams are quite evenly matched. I'd say they're top midfield right now, so I think that'll be something to look out for.
That's actually interesting. I hadn't thought of that. I think, yeah, it will be a very good thing to see how these two drivers who are effectively on their second race in F1 on a street circuit, which is not very forgiving, how they stack up to the rest of the grid. Definitely a challenge for them, but I think one that they may very well rise to the occasion and do quite well at.
Yeah. In terms of F2 and its representation compared to F1, I think a lot of teams are already not really looking at how drivers perform in F2 and more seeing how the drivers they've had their eye on perform in simulators and test runs in old years' cars and that kind of thing. But what I will say is F2 is a platform to have performances like, say, Gabriel Bortoleto at Monza doing that last to first, showing that you can do some really insane stuff, which will put you on the radar, which I think it's really just luck.
I think it's interesting because, I mean, earlier you were asking about like, is F2 a good way of gauging the talents and skills of these drivers? And I do sort of wonder, is F1 even a good way of gauging it? Because
Hmm.
at least in F2, the cars are, I know like they have different setups and stuff, but they're essentially the same cars, are they not?
I think there's probably some deeper nuance to it. Obviously, different teams, different setups, and maybe even who can afford more new parts. I don't know enough about F2 to fully get into it, but it is In that sense, it is more representative, but I feel like when people look at F1, since it's much more widely followed than F2, people know that if you're in a Haas, you're realistically not going to win a race. That doesn't make you a bad driver. And they're
Mm,
more likely to look at the nuances between, if you're in a midfield team, being a good driver is constantly being sort of up there, P12, P11, P10, constantly by the point, so that if something happens, you can monopolize on that. And I think most people watching F1 know that, and they'll know that just because Valtteri and Joe are constantly at the back doesn't mean they're awful. It's because the Sauber is an awful car. Whereas most people, I'd say, for the most part, don't have the time to also watch F2 as closely and see all the nuances. And in a way, they're also harder to see because it's not like this team's midfield, this team's good. It's this team has figured out the setup of the new car better. This team has had less engine issues because everybody has engine issues. And it's just, it seems to be much more of a gamble and much more luck based. Moving on from a future F1 driver to one of the last undecided seats on the grid, it's time to talk about Sauber. Mattia Binotto is adamant that a decision on who will occupy the seat needs to happen soon, but they're at a crossroads. Will it be young and exciting, or old and reliable? The options for the seat seem to have come down to Valtteri Bottas, their current driver, and Gabriel Bortoleto, an exciting McLaren junior who just achieved a last to first victory in Monza. A thorn in Valtteri's side will be job security, as the Finn wants a 2-year contract, which Sauber is hesitant to commit to. When Audi takes over in 2026, they are going to want flexibility over their driver lineup, so would much rather sign a 1-year contract with a driver than extend if the performance and marketability is to their liking. This is where Gabriel Bortoleto comes in. He might win the F2 championship, and either way, he's desperate for a seat, as McLaren won't be changing their lineup anytime soon. He would be much more likely to accept a 1-year contract than Valtteri. As of today, McLaren have also given the green light for their academy driver to join Sauber while keeping ties to McLaren, so all signs seem to point in Gabriel's direction. My questions for you, Uno, are who do you think will get the seat and who do you want to get the seat?
The situation at Sauber is interesting because they've already got Nico Hulkenberg and he's there for the Audi journey as well. He's there for, I think it's 3 years or possibly 2, but he'll definitely be there when they are Audi. So they have their sort of tried and trusted elder driver, so to speak. They have their mentor figure. So to me, it makes sense to bring in a younger driver to sort of be trained up. Now, the fact that it's a McLaren driver is maybe not ideal because he might not stay around. If Oscar or Lando decide they want to move to another team, McLaren will most likely want their driver back. So it becomes tricky then because now you've spent all this time and energy and money training this driver up for them to leave. It's sort of like a Williams situation like they had with George Russell, why they were reluctant to take on Kimi Antonelli. On the other hand, Sauber could probably benefit from having 2 elder drivers, 2 experienced drivers, because they are building a brand new team essentially, and they're going to need that wealth of experience when it comes to designing the car, when it comes to getting feedback on how the car is working. We know that Sauber does not work at the moment, so any help they can get on that front would be, I think, very valuable to them. So it depends what you want to do, because I think their aim should be getting to 2027 with that base of experience, and then from there looking for younger drivers that they can take into the future. So from my point of view, I would opt for a Bottas, for example. Some other options, because we don't know what's going to happen with Red Bull and Visa Cash App RB. Ricardo or Perez might very well not have a seat at the end of the year. They would also be ideal candidates for that team. Perez has a lot of experience being in like a back marker or midfield team, and Ricardo is very experienced when it comes to giving feedback on the car. So I think both of them would be ideal candidates, or Bottas. If they want to go for the younger candidates, Bortoleto or even Liam Lawson, if he doesn't get a seat at VCARB, would be good options. But I think for the medium term, they should focus on experience rather than youth, and probably a younger driver will be cheaper. I think they should rather focus on the experienced drivers for now.
Mm, yeah, the younger driver would be cheaper. That's something I was thinking of. As well as having less contract demands, it would be a much lighter salary, I'd imagine. Because, I mean, you are paying for that experience and that sort of trustworthy hand when you get a driver who's been in the sport for longer. A question I have for just sort of Sauber, like they're going to listen to this, but is why are they just completely writing off Teo Porcher? Like he is in their academy. You wouldn't have the issue with Bortoletto, him being in the McLaren academy, just going to McLaren if a seat opens up, because Teo is in the Sauber academy and he's pretty adamant about being like, please just give me the car, give me the steering wheel, give me a chance. God, I want F2. Like he's pretty adamant about wanting something, and Sauber just seem to completely write him off. And I really just don't know why. Like it's quite bizarre to me.
Maybe he's the guy they want to bring in 2026,
Ooh,
because they've
yeah.
been very clear that they only want a driver for 1 year. So maybe he's to come after, once
When
they've
the car's
established.
better.
Yeah, maybe when they're Audi and not Sauber, they want him in. Maybe then, it could
Yeah,
be part of their
maybe.
thinking.
I think, to be honest, it would make in some ways more sense to go with Valtteri, but I feel like they'll go with Gabriel. I I just sort of there's been so much like the news today about McLaren saying, "Yeah, you can go." Tells me they're probably pretty deep in contract talks. It could all still fall through. It could be that they wait until the end of the season to decide, but Mattia seems pretty adamant about wanting to do it soon. So I don't know if the option of a Ricardo or a Perez would be open to them, because you wouldn't want to sign somebody just to break their contract a couple months later before they've started racing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're not really discussing it today. We did discuss it in our recording for the Baku predictions, which y'all can catch tomorrow on Traffic Paradise Radio. Just a little bit of a plug there. But the Red Bull situation should be mostly resolved by the Singapore Grand Prix, because
Oh, so
Liam has to be signed by the 21st, or otherwise he can walk. Again, this is just according to reports. So if Sauber are waiting for that Red Bull situation to see if they can grab like a Liam Lawson or a Daniel Ricciardo, for example, there's not that much time left before they'll know.
that's a good point. That makes me wonder. There's definitely still options then, but I feel like that means Valtteri's got even less of a chance if there's an option of, say, a Perez who's been very, very good in a back market team. Why would you not go for him if he was available?
Yeah, I think Perez, everyone sort of gives him a lot of grief, but I think he's a pretty good driver, and I think he's very good in a team setting. He's not selfish.
Yeah.
He's not a selfish driver. Maybe a couple moments on track where he does put himself first, and you can
Well, that's
understand
normal
why. He's
though.
a driver, he should be doing that. But I think when it comes to, like, working as a team, building up a team, he's good. He's good at what he does in that regard, so I think he would be a good call for them. If I don't think he'd want to, maybe if
Will he
if
have
he's
any
leaving
options
Red
though?
Bull, I mean,
I
he
guess
might
maybe
decide
he'd
just to
retire.
leave. Yeah, he's got enough money. He's got a family back in Mexico, I believe. Or no, they don't live in Mexico. They live in Monaco.
Ooh.
I'm not actually sure now. I think they live in Monaco, actually, but I'm sure he has family in Mexico too, so he can go visit them as well. But he's got a life outside of Formula One that he might want to focus on.
He might want to go to a different racing sport, bro.
But I don't understand these people. Just retire and enjoy your money. My goodness, like, to retire at 35, what a joy.
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing about these people. They're like, they want to keep going. I would, I mean, would I retire? No.
I would retire. I would retire after like 2 seasons in Formula One. You'll have millions of dollars and you can just go away and never see anyone again. Like,
Put it all
ideal.
in an ISA. Just let the stock build up.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
invest in some like property on like a nice tropical island, a paradise, if you will, a traffic paradise. There's another plug. Um, and just like relax and enjoy life. My goodness, that's what I would want to do. But maybe that's why I'm not a race winning driver.
I imagine, yeah, that might be it. Now, to another green team. During a press conference on Tuesday, Aston Martin announced Adrian Newey as their technical managing partner and a part shareholder. His role will be leading a top team of aerodynamicists with a focus on the 2026 car. He is said to have a multi-year contract with the team with a salary worth up to 30 million per year with bonuses. Lawrence Stroll said, Adrian is key, and the biggest part of the puzzle, certainly from a technical leadership point of view. Newey is the latest in a number of high profile additions to Aston Martin's team, with Enrico Cardile from Ferrari taking on the role of CTO and Andy Cowell from Mercedes becoming their CEO. So, will we see Aston Martin fighting at the front in 2026?
Fernando Alonso, 2026 World Drivers' Champion. You heard it here first. It's gonna happen. Probably not, but it's very cool. I think we're definitely gonna at least get one more Fernando Alonso race win, which I think will be very special.
Yeah, I think it's very good for the sport to have Adrian go somewhere that's not one of the top teams right now. It'll just bring, I mean, 2025 is going to be a very competitive year. And then in 2026, when lots of the teams will have experienced personnel, hopefully we will still see a varied fight at the front.
I think we're in for a very interesting 2026. I think we're going to see a resurgent Mercedes. I think we're going to see well, if Mercedes is resurgent, McLaren is going to be strong as well because they're going to have their power unit.
Yeah.
We're going to see possibly even a strong Alpine if they're taking the Mercedes engine. So
Oh,
there's three teams at the very least that might be quite interesting to watch. Obviously, we know Honda can build a good engine. So Aston Martin's already got that, plus Adrian Newey, plus Fernando Alonso. It's going to be cool. And I think plus Lance Stroll as well. People often hate on him, but he hasn't been doing terribly this year. He's 10th in the Drivers' Championship, which is exactly where you expect him to be. He's in the fifth fastest car. He's driving alongside a double world champion. Yeah, he should be 10th in the championships. That's exactly where he should be. So it makes sense that that's where he is now. I think with more time, even by mid 2025, we'll start to see Aston Martin improving because then Newey will have been there for a while. Yeah, he doesn't have that much say over next year's car just yet, but he'll definitely have a say over the upgrades that they bring throughout the year.
yeah. I mean, upgrades can really be make or break in
Absolutely.
how a team progresses. Look at mid-season Ferrari, for example.
Or mid-season V carb.
They probably had it worse off than Ferrari.
Oh, my heart breaks. Or even Aston Martin last year, second fastest car at the beginning of the year, and then they kind of ended the year sort of in no man's land.
And then nowhere this year.
Well, they're top 5 some weekends, top 6 other weekends, top 7 on a very bad weekend. That's not a great place for a car to be when you were potentially the only challenger to Red Bull at the beginning of last year. So I think Adrian Newey will definitely bring that direction to the team, that technical prowess that they need, because clearly that's where they're lacking.
Yeah.
They've got all the other components. They've got the race winning driver. They've got the money. They definitely aren't shy on money. Lawrence Stroll was talking about that today, that he believes nothing good is ever cheap. You know, he believes in spending money and investing in the team. Clearly, he's committed in that regard. So now it's just about waiting and seeing how that investment pays off.
I honestly really love how passionate Lawrence is about Formula One. You don't often see these big billionaires coming in and actually wanting to really put everything into the team. They're just sort of like, I'll invest a bit in this because it'll make me money. but you can tell that he really wants success for Aston Martin, which I kind of love.
It makes every father in the world look terrible in comparison.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, your kid enjoyed karting when he was younger. Let's buy a Formula 1 team," you know? That guy is so committed to his son's success. It's actually quite sweet. And I know people hate on him for it, but like you wouldn't want your dad to do that for you? Come on. It's amazing what he's done for his
God.
son. That's like and yeah, obviously he's got the money to do it. Not everyone's dad can be a multi-billionaire, but he definitely loves his son and that's something very special.
And at the end of the day, if Lance really was as bad as a lot of people like to make him out to be, he wouldn't be there. Like,
No.
if he was in the wall every weekend, he wouldn't be there. But he, like you said, he puts in the performance that's expected of where his car is right now. A lot of the time, he's not going to stack up to Fernando Alonso, but that's Fernando Alonso. Finally, for a bit of light-hearted news, this year's Grill the Grid wrapped up last week and Oscar Piastri took a dominant victory, leading from episode 2 all the way to the end. He had a 5-point gap to Max in P2. This is purely indulgent for me, but I really love Grill the Grid, so I wanted to include it.
Girl the Grid is lots of fun. Yuki does sometimes very well and
Oh,
sometimes very badly.
I think he was very close to last.
Yeah, no, he dropped down the standings considerably as the year went on. He started very strong and he ended up terribly.
It's whenever there's a history round or a remembering or name the driver.
And the funniest thing is like when he has to name like some like old British guy, he just starts like giving generic white man names and it's the funniest thing. He's like Jim, Jonathan, Henry. He just randomly says like white guy names, and it's the funniest thing. He's like, I don't fucking know. Oh, I can't. Oh shit, I swore. He's like, I don't
Uh,
know.
yeah. Oh, well, one day Yuki will win. It's when they just put like recognize the face challenges in and no naming ones. I don't even know if he was good at that one, to be fair.
When they do a name this food from which country we race at,
Oh, actually, that's a really good idea.
Yuki
Like,
will know everything.
somebody send that to the Grill the Grid team. That's a really good idea for a round. Wow.
That's an easy Yuki win there. But you know what? I'd much
Yes.
rather see him win an actual race than grill the grid. So I can handle coming last
Yeah.
and grill the
I
grid.
get it all. I get it all.
Yeah, you get race winner, sprint winner, and grill the grid winner.
Uh,
And a pole position? Does he have a pole position?
he doesn't have a pole position.
Oh, okay. Well, you
I
can
know.
still work towards that.
That one has to come.
Okay, well, we'll hope for the best. But for Lando's
Manifest
sake,
it.
hopefully it only happens next year.
Thank you all for joining us. That's all the news we have for you this week. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And come back next week for more news on the Traffic Report. Bye!
Bye bye.
Newey is the latest in a number of high-profile additions to the Aston Martin team, with Enrico I don't know how to say his fucking name. Fuck me. Enrico Carda... Jesus. Do you know? Enrico Cardio. That doesn't sound right. Oh my god. I should have seen this coming.